Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Doing good. How are you doing?
Good, good. Yeah. Thank you for joining us. I'm just trying to get everybody admitted here, and yeah, I think we should be streaming live on Facebook as well. Yeah,
Okay.
it looks like we are. So hopefully that's worked. I've found that to be a bit troublesome recently, but anyway. So thank you very much for joining us. And I'm sure we'll get a few more people coming in later on, but I think we can welcome you to our virtual town hall.
Good to
And
be here.
yeah, this virtual event is sponsored by Black Mountain News and Black Mountain Dems and Friends. And just a bit of housekeeping for everyone joining us, that the format and how we're going to run this. I'm asking everybody to keep their video off, and stay muted until we get past our virtual Q&A, and then I'll open it up to the virtual floor. And if anybody has any questions for Jeff, please drop them in the chat. If you're happy to have your video turned on, you can let me know and I can turn your video on and unmute you, and you can ask Jeff your question yourself. Otherwise, I'm happy to ask your question to Jeff on myself. We are recording this, so we'll be publishing the recording of this event to blackmountain-news.com, as well as to the Black Mountain Facebook page, the Black Mountain YouTube channel, and on from our Twitter account as well. Also, if anybody sees this recording after the event, and they'd like to ask Jeff a question because they weren't able to join us today, Jeff, can you tell us what would be the best way for them to reach out to you directly after this event?
Sure. There's a few ways. You can go to electfortney.com and there is a contact us page there. They can put in their question and I'll get an email and then I'll get back to them. Info@electfortney.com is a direct email. And if you don't want to do the email thing, you can call my phone. It's 480-779-8663. And I take the calls when they come in. So,
Okay, great. So lots of ways to reach you. Okay, excellent.
yeah.
Okay, so Jeff, I think I'd like to get started by giving you a chance to tell us why you've chosen to run in this election this year.
Okay. Well, I have been teaching special education for the last 17 years. I still do that and I love it. Um, and I've seen what has been going on with education in Arizona, and that has caused me to be an advocate for public education. And so I've worked really hard at making sure that the funds that are dedicated to public education stay there. I was a very big supporter of Prop 305, and we did a lot of work to get that universal voucher expansion killed, because that would have really decimated our public schools. I was out there getting all the signatures and doing everything that went with being involved in that. And that just led to getting more involved in candidates that support public education, supporting them despite, both sides of the aisle thing. If you support public education, I was, all in your corner. So that was a big thing. And then I got really involved in watching the legislation that was going on. As the bills were coming forth, good bills for public education and bad, then I would spread the word and disseminate. We need to call our legislators to either support this bill or tell them this bill is horrible, don't do this. So that was the background that led to being one day in an education town hall where several people were up on the dais and they were all saying educators need to be in school boards. They need to be involved in education decisions, and it really resonated. And I don't work in Cave Creek anymore, so that allows me to run for the school board. At the time, nobody was running, so I think I need to do this. So that's what I've been doing for over a year now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. And you along with now you along you're also running in this election are Brianna Walker and James Rich, and you've recently received a pretty high profile endorsement from some former Cave Creek president school boards.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now specifically, they had said they cited the need to not play politics or bring agendas into this election. It struck me that the letter may have been referring to heightened tensions around educating Cave Creek kids in the middle of a pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit about how COVID has shaped this election this year?
Well, first, I think partly they were referring to that, and partly they were referring to a lot of really a lot of vitriol that's going around this election uh, on Facebook and social media. There's a lot of people that are there's just a lot of things going on there that really have very little to do with actually being on the school board and doing what needs to be done for the kids in the community. So they were kind of referring to both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I've been trying to stay as far away from the anonymous Facebook posts as you possibly can, because there's no point in fighting it. And there, so we just kind of stay away from that and stick to
Mm-hmm.
our message. As far as the COVID goes, and it's heightened everything across the state, across the country. School districts have been told to bear the brunt of figuring out if they're going to do this or not. It's a daunting, daunting responsibility for somebody in an unpaid, nonpartisan position. Uh, I think that buck passing was really terrible for this, and that if they had somehow just at some level before it got to the school board said, these are the metrics that have to be met. And if you haven't met them, you can't open. If you have, you can. It would have eliminated all this fighting. It would, I mean, every district that or school board person I've talked to, or people, the teachers, wherever the district is, there is a battle going on between open, don't open. And it's just really torn some communities apart. And there is no good thing to do for it, because you're going to upset somebody one way or the other. And I've seen that on the faces of the school board members right now in Cave Creek as they agonize over the decisions that they've made. So
Mm-hmm.
it heightens everything.
It does seem to have been a kind of uh, every school for itself on its own without proper guidance. And some schools have reopened, some schools have trying hybrid models. There's still conversations about masks in schools,
Yep.
to mask or not to mask. Teachers trying to do online learning for students and then go physically into classrooms as well. And it certainly has caused some divisions within communities, and schools are typically the heart and soul of the community, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And I think that it would be really helpful uh, if there was some way that we could kind of pull together on this for the best interest of the students and the teachers, uh, but and the community. That I just don't know right now if it's possible. It's just such a divide and such a deep-seated uh, feelings on one side of it or the other. So it's going to be tough to recover from for quite a while.
Now, I'm going to ask a question. So Anna in the chat, she's asking who should be setting the metric,
For opening or reopening?
the metrics for whether it's appropriate to reopen or not.
Well, the Department of Health Services has been tasked with doing that, from the governor, and they've been working with the governor and Kathy Hoffman in the Arizona Department of Education. And those metrics have been put out there, and they are what they are, but yet they've only been given as a guideline. You can ignore them and open, you can ignore them and stay closed. So it's again, that's just heightened this and made it something that probably could have been avoided if they had just said A, B, C, D. You have to do this or you can't. So, but that's where it should come from.
Yeah. And speaking of contentious, I know that we've seen a number of signs that have been vandalized, stolen. You recently posted on Facebook about having found some signs for your opponents, Thatcher and Busby, on the ground, and actually put them back up yourself. And your signs have been vandalized as well. How do you think after this election the community can heal and come back together for the sake of the kids in Cave Creek?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I think that the factions that are against things will continue to be against things, but hopefully their voice will get more and more dim as time goes by. And I think it will just take a committed 5-person board working in the best interest of the students and the community to make some of that ugliness go away. That's what we have to do. I mean, you have to put that forward. There's going to be a new superintendent coming in, and so that is going to be a really challenging time as well. So there's a lot of things that the new board is going to be facing, and if they do it in a way that puts the kids and the teachers and the community first, then let those chips fall where they may.
What are these factions? What are they concerned about? I mean, what are they opposed to? What actions they opposed to schools taking?
Well, without getting too deep into the weeds with this, because I really don't like to even talk about that much at all, but there is a faction out there that just really is against the superintendent. I have a lot of negative feelings towards her as a person and as a superintendent. And then that if you are seen, and not even that if you are aligned with her, if you are seen as being aligned with her, then you get attacked. People running for school boards have been attacked, and that's understandable. Candidates get attacked. But what really bothers me is sometimes just people that just, say, hey, this is not right. And challenge them, they get attacked. And it's anonymous, fake Facebook profiles. So you can't even really tell for the most part where they're coming from and who's behind it. And they can attack our citizens without any retribution from Facebook. Facebook says, hey, everything's fine here. And that's a shame. So,
and you mean teachers in some,
teachers have been attacked if they are seen to be on the opposite side. And then just other non-employees, just people that are, putting in their 2 cents, and they get attacked by it too, with lies, with flat out lies about them. And so it's really a shame.
And what do you mind sharing? What do you hope for from the new superintendent?
Well, I hope for somebody that will lead, have a good vision of what they want done with this district, what they think they can do with this district. It's a very good district. The kids are doing very well despite all the things that are going on right now. And but we need to continue taking it forward, because there's a lot of potential here, but there's an idea that this is a really affluent district and we just have money all over the place. And that's definitely not the case. And people need to be aware that there are taxes that are being collected from people that live within the boundaries of Cave Creek School District that are being shipped right out of here to support other districts that can't sustain themselves, because we have the highest property values in the state. So we can pay for ourselves as minimally as we can, and then then they come around and say, who else can give some more? And so we can give more, and then that gets shipped out. If we could keep some of that money, maybe we could pay our teachers a little bit better and get some more of these resources that we need. So it's something that I would really like to see them work on.
Okay. Now, you're notable in this election for having had a very long career in teaching, which shouldn't really be notable given the job that you're running for, but in fact actually makes you a bit of an exception. Can you tell us why you feel that having real life experience, classroom experience, is so important to being able to do this job effectively?
Well, I don't think it needs to be a requirement that you are an educator to be on the school board, but it really does, it is helpful because you can bring a perspective that somebody that's on the board from the community just would not be able to understand or experience. Uh, there are certain things that come up uh, that have come up as in the year or so that I've been going to these meetings where um, sometimes that classroom perspective is not quite understood by the people that aren't in there day to day. We have a former educator on the Cave Creek School Board now, and her input has been invaluable. So just being able to say, as a teacher, this would really work, or as a teacher, this really won't work. And I think that bears a lot of weight. And so we need more and more and more people in that position so that we can have that voice of people that are living it day to day.
Actually, I wanted to mention Proposition 208.
Okay.
You're a supporter. And can you
Mhm.
tell us why Prop 208, which will be on our ballots in November, why it's so important and what real life impacts it would have on schools in Cave Creek?
Okay, well, let's see. There's a lot of stuff in that question, so let me take it a little bit at a time. Prop 208 is there because the people that should have been financing, funding education for the last decade plus have not done it. Back when the recession hit in 2008, 2009, money just went away from public education. And then when Governor Ducey came in and he had to balance the budget, he balanced it on the backs of the schools. And it has never recovered. And the Red for Ed thing helped a bit. It did help some teachers a little bit. You know, the 20 by 20 by 2020 was a whole lot better than the I believe it was 2% over 4 years that they were going to get before that walkout happened. But it hasn't been enough. And so it's always been the legislature giving breadcrumbs to the schools and saying, hey, look what we did. We gave this money. And it's like, well, yeah, but you know, it's that much and we need this much. We need this much. And so, and they've just refused to do it. They've just, along the line, just been refusing to do it and refusing to do it. When bills do come up that are trying to address it, they haven't been heard. And so it's fallen to this. Some people are against it because they think it's more of a tax-rich thing. And I understand that, but at the same time, these folks have gotten tax cuts every single year for the last 30 years, and they still would not be paying what they were way back when. And there's just so much misinformation about it. I had a young lady talking to me at one of my town halls the other day that said, a friend of mine owns a boutique and she's going to go under if Prop 208 passes. I was like, I don't think so. So let's talk about this for a minute. First, does your friend, after expenses, bring home $250,000? And she's like, no, of course not. It's just a little boutique. And so then she's not going to pay a penny more than she is now. But why is that out there? Well, because certain factions don't want it to pass. Now, statewide, it will bring in its estimates. The money numbers are different, but the Arizona Department of Revenue said it would bring in anywhere from $840,000 to $950 million a year, every year of sustained income. And that will go directly to the schools, to the classrooms, to be used in the manners that are put forth in the bill. They can't be touched by the legislature. It has to go to where it's supposed to go. Now, how exactly that is going to affect Cave Creek, I don't know. Because Cave Creek is such an anomaly, because we do not get hardly any money from the state, I don't know exactly how that will impact. I've heard that we will still get a good amount of money coming from that, but I don't know that for a fact. And so that's something that we will have to be watching. But it has a really good chance of passing. And so the new school board will have to be ready for that, and we'll have to be able to fight for what's ours.
Yeah, I understand. So, do you have any? Can you tell us a little bit about? Because there are two other candidates. I mentioned them earlier, James Rich and Brianna Walker, and they're also
Mhm.
running. And you support them as well, do you not?
I do support those two. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
they uh, they they align with what I believe is important uh,
Hmm.
to this district, and we share some common values about what should be done for the schools and for the community. Uh, and we're all over the place as far as this being a nonpartisan race. It's all over the place there. So there's a wide range there, but the idea is what's good for the kids and what's good for our community. So yes, I do support those two.
Yeah. So you think that together, forming a good portion of school board together, you'd be able to work at an opposing, to support each other to deliver better results for Cave Creek students.
That's the idea. You, as a single member of a school board, you have really no power whatsoever.
Mhm.
You have to work with the other four people on it, and you
Mhm.
have to do it in a way that will, uh, well, at least for myself, I will always be driven by what I think is best for the classroom, what's best for the community, what's best for the teachers and the students. So that's going to be first and foremost. And I think we'll have some really good discussions, and but we can get some good things done.
Can you tell us a little bit about how your campaign is going and any upcoming events that you're planning?
It's going well. I I talk to voters. That's my thing. I was doing that for years before I became a candidate, uh, and that was a lot easier than doing it for myself. It's still a little weird doing it for myself, but it's gotten better. I wish I could be knocking on people's doors. That was a blast, and I loved doing it. Um, but needless to say, we can't do that now. So we are calling people. We call them every weekend. I call them sometimes in the evenings, just to introduce myself and hear from them. We're texting people, and that has been a really nice thing. We recently had a forum. The six candidates had a forum put on by the school district, the IB students, and I just put it out there. I just sent text to all kinds of people saying, I did this. Are you interested in seeing the video? And I got an overwhelming response of, yeah, I'd like to see it. And then from that came, we really appreciate what you said there. We like this, and you have our vote. And so that's been huge. So we're doing that. We've also been doing a lot of meet and greets. We've done we started doing some physical ones with nice social distancing outside, and that's been good. We're also done a few virtual ones. We have another one coming up on Wednesday at 5 o'clock. And the information is out there on my website, electfortney.com.
Okay.
And after that, we're going to see what more we need to do as the ballots start coming in. As I did here at the beginning of this thing, I've opened myself up to, you want to talk to me? Here I am. Um, uh, I've given people my phone number. I've given people my email, and they have responded. I've gotten a lot of good questions, uh, and we don't always agree. Like I said, you can't on some of these things agree with everybody, but it's been good discussion. And if there are some people that want to get in touch with me afterwards, and we don't have some planned event, they can definitely get in touch with me, and I can set up a Zoom meeting, or I can just call them or whatever. But I'm willing to do that.
Mm-hmm. Cindy has a question. She says, what do you think is the best way for the school board to keep the community informed about critical issues and general policies?
Well, I think that we need to make sure that the community. I know that the school board or the school district is putting out certain information as it becomes available. They're trying to inform teachers or family members when things are coming up. I don't know how much of that is, but I think that it's important that we continue to do that. We have to put things out on Facebook. I would like, uh, if I get into this thing, I would like to have some times that I can meet with people, but like I was doing before all this hit. I'd like to do that afterwards, where people can come and have coffee with not the candidate, then have coffee with the board member, and we can sit and we can talk about things that are concerning to them, and we can pass that along. I would like to do that, but it is important, especially nowadays, to make sure that information is getting put out there quickly and accurately, with transparency about what's going on. It
Yeah.
really helps ease people's minds.
Yeah, it's being informed right now is really important. And
There's everywhere in the district that I work in, we're supposed to be going back on the 19th to in-person uh, teaching, but uh, the high school district just decided to wait until January or sometime in December. I'm in the elementary school district for Tolleson, and so we don't know. We'll find out maybe Wednesday if we're going back on Monday. So that being having to be prepared for whatever comes forward it's tiring, and it's frustrating.
yeah,
So the more that people can get out there in advance, uh, as time allows, then the better, because it just helps everybody instead of just shocking them and surprising them, and then everybody's up in arms.
yeah, and of course for parents too who are struggling to juggle work and whether it's online learning or kids at home or and not having that forewarning of how to plan their work schedules. Yeah, it's been
Exactly.
stressful for everybody.
It has. I'm special education teacher, like I said, and I'm working with about 20 different kids every single day this way. Um, it's challenging. It's not ideal, but we're getting it done. And a lot of times the parent is sitting right there with the kid, and they're helping and they're talking to me, and that's been huge and it's been helpful. So
Mhm.
those things definitely help.
Yeah. And I just wanted to point out that your information was, your contact information was included in the drop that the Democrats did on the drop last week, the door drop last week.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah.
We're not shying away from anything. Here I am. Come on, bring it in.
That sounds good. So I've got Thomas has a question. He says, how do you evaluate the curriculums in the district? Any changes? Are you considering any changes?
The curriculum is done by people that work on the curriculum, and then it is brought to the board to be adopted or not. So we don't have a lot of say in what's in it, but when it's brought to us, then we can vote on it based on, and we can talk about it when it's brought forth. But that's usually the extent of it. We don't have a lot of input into it in advance. We have to have them. They have to bring it to us, and then we can discuss it.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? If you do, wave, comment in the chat. But no, I mean, I think this pandemic has created fractures and stresses, throughout communities, and I think the schools have borne a disproportionate amount of the responsibility.
Yeah,
Because it's such a central focus for any community because
sure,
it's the nerve center, and so it has been become a focal point for a lot of those tensions for sure.
it does. On the flip side of that, I'm still working on, especially in the Cave Creek district. There's still, um, at least to my liking, it too big of a disconnect between the district and a lot of our residents, because they don't have kids in the district. Uh, their kids have grown or are gone, or they've never had it, and they're transplants from other places. Um, and so, like when I've sent out some of these texts or when I made my phone calls, I get that response. I don't have kids in the district. I, that's okay. That's that, but this is still our community, and this is still important. And I'd really like to make sure that that's brought forth, because it it does affect us. This is our community, and this is for the pandemic thing. This is a serious thing. We are considered an outbreak here in Cave Creek because we've got, I believe it's like 6 cases now, at the high school. We have 100 kids quarantined at the high school. This is this weighs on a community. And so I would like to see the community involved in this, and I would like to see them involved as making sure that if bonds and overrides are going to be coming up, which they probably will sometime in the near future, that we support these, because that's the only way that we can pay teachers what they're worth. It's the only way we can get some of these resources in. Everybody on that forum, whenever that was, a while back, said, "Oh, we need to pay teachers more," but there's not this big pile of money just sitting there not being used. Every penny is accounted for, and there's a 20-page budget out there for anybody to read, so that you can see this is where it's at. So if we want to attract teachers, if we want to retain teachers, we have to be able to do something to do that. My short little story on that is I know of a teacher that wanted to come back to Cave Creek because she graduated from here. She works over in Scottsdale. And so she called the district to say, "I want to come back." And she couldn't. The gap between what we would make here and what she's making in Scottsdale was so huge that there was no way that she could economically do it. And so that was a very good teacher that we lost out on because of that. So I don't want to see that happen. I want to see people come here because I want it to be the destination district that it can be.
Mhm. Can you tell me how well teachers are informed? I mean, you mentioned that you don't know right now. You may find out on Wednesday if you're going to be open or what's going to happen. Are teachers being kept well enough informed themselves in terms of, the risk to them physically,
Oh,
and what's happening in terms of spread or infections and schools? Are you kind of hearing it through the grapevine?
well, I hope that they're giving this information to the teachers here. I don't know firsthand what information the teachers have been given, but I know that the teachers were given a survey before they opened, when it was being decided if they're going to go back on September 8th or wait until mid-October. And 38% of the teachers said, "I am not comfortable coming back." And that has resulted in, last time I checked, like 15 job openings, and it's probably going to get worse. So I know they're trying to do the best they can with masks and social distancing, but it's a very difficult situation to be in. In my district, there's plenty of information that's being put out. They try to keep on top of it, but yeah, it's ever changing. But when I do go back to in person, it's going to be a very bizarre situation because I'll be in there with a face mask on, with a face shield over that, and behind a plexiglass, divider. All of it to try and protect us and protect the kids. So it's just going to be very weird. And there's the whole thing of some of my kids are going to be in person and some of them are going to be online. So how that is all going to work, well, it's going to be a flexibility issue.
Yeah.
So that's where that's at. So hopefully, but we have to give the information to the teachers. They have to be able to make informed decisions for themselves, for their family. It's critical. And the fact that they just opened a free testing center at the Holland Center up in Cave Creek, that will be huge thing for this community, because that will give some people some peace of mind. So that they know how they are, they know how their students are. I mean, that was a big step. So I was glad to see that done.
Yeah, no, that's an exciting development.
And Brianna Walker was behind a lot of that. So I really applaud her for going out and getting that done.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Jeff, and I don't see any other questions coming through. So maybe just one last shout out, if people want to find out more about you and your campaign, they go to electfortney.com right behind me. Right. And you've given your telephone number and email. If you want to give it again one more time for people, if they want to reach out one-on-one.
Sure. It is info@electfortney.com. That's my email. And 480-779-8663. There it is, right there. Call it, it'll ring. And so that's a way to get in touch with me. So.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for taking the time. I know you're really busy right now, so really appreciate you taking the time to speak to us.
I really appreciate you having me for this. This was very nice, and I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Goodbye, everybody.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Stay safe, everyone.